Okay, so then commencing with the prayers, either on the screen, from the screen in front of you, or in the text in front of you on page 1. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities, Geshela, on the peak of a cloud, resembling a clump of extremely white fresh curd, King of the Dharma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, in a lion-throned lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith. Please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light-scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those of the 3 vows, that I've collected from beginning this time, I confess each and every one with regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practices of degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Save you sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion, the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound, extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May what of virtue I've collected benefit the teachings in all transmigratory beings. In particular, may it cause the essence of the perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. And then Tibetan phonetics at the top of page 5. Sa shi po ki joy shi me to tam ri ra bling shi ni de gem pa di sang ge xing du mi te o wa yi do kon nam dak xing la cho par shok. By the merits having offered this mandala to the beloved Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sending beings be able to meet, practice, and actually teach the victorious one, Losandrapa, who had the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamiya Tayami. And then halfway down page 6. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, and obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. And then to page 8, we recite this 5-line prayer here 3 times. Mi me ze we te te chen re zi, dream e kempe wampo jumpo yang, tumo pa lu zhong we sang we dang, gan chen ten pen sen kan song kapa, lo zan drable sabla so wa de. Mi me ze we te te chen re zi, dream e kempe wampo jumpo yang, tumo pa lu zhong we sang we dang, gan chen ten pen sen kan song kapa, lo zan drable sabla so wa de. Mi me ze we te te chen re zi, dream e kempe wampo jumpo, du mo pa lu zhong we sang we dang, gan chen ten pen sen kan song kapa, lo zan drable sabla so wa de. So then over the page on page 9, prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of children of the victorious ones, Sravaka and Padyaka Buddhas, Victorious Losam, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings who suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth, the blessings of the ocean, the three jewels, and the great waves, the bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Sangye Chodang Soji Cholom La Changju Pardo Dani Gyapsun Che Dagi Chushi Gibanda Dag Drolam Penshe Sangye Drupara Sho Sangye Chodang Soji Cholom Changju Pardo Dani Gyapsun Che Dagi Chushi Gibanda Dag Drolam Penshe Sangye Drupara Sho Sangye Chodang Soji Cholom La Changju Pardo Dani Gyapsun Dagi Chushi Yebanda Dag Drolam Peje Sanjin Drupara Sho Kangi Tuzi Nizone Tawatamje Pambish Tambishun Dunzi Kodam Tela Chanselo Namala Kedalo Nojiki Tribanda Mi Keno the Kunji Danam Chizamba Tamji Kedu Dagi Chudendo. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Shabodi. Yes.
No.
Thank you, Karishua. Chance Kari Chance Chiglayer. Nganzu ta dwelling dojra ta sa pasanti samsu jilin che chet dojra dra.
So on Fridays we usually do an interactive session, and you're open to suggest any kind of topic for discussion. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, you're welcome to ask.
Tere da ngegi metse nangla la ta lobjong da di nanchu tola cheware sra ta kan kanji chi yache jo kazu si shin yue me la ma de kanji ngi metse di ane nanchu jan kebare sra tinza da an kyaran zun del zomya di nanchu chi chet nanchu chet da del lebare ani ngindini nanchu ro chi she de gore Tinza kyaran tsula ya, tindi tola ya samsu kari yobay na nga li shebay na ani nge tongya, tuya, kwaya, shinya di kyaran tsula nge pichogro asirwa.
So I've spent most of time studying and engaging in the rigorous studies of Buddhist philosophy. And you all are gathered here to kind of listen to my talks about Buddhist philosophy. So therefore, if you have any thoughts, you're welcome to share it with me. Or if you have any if you have any kind of doubts or topics that you want me to discuss, it's also open.
Nga la kyan jido di tindo sira. Nge kadzu sigi samba namda chi ni nga ran shiba di shebay na ani nge gi nanshu tsejiro di ting sabrda pu tar. Tan drogu yoba di yashi gyata mara sira. Kadzus ngi samba namda chemadu na ta yung marmada ngoni ngarang ngoni samba namda kadzus ki ani ribadum ni she tubai na kenan sulai lab tubai na ngus kayo la yung ngarang la ping dos tara ngai ngarang ping ani lobjong ni nyamnyong nyamne di the thing sabr se tor dwedi tere da nangchu gi jang ni nangchu shebi kepsang di diores taro kepsang diores di tsugu sosu semba kibir dress sosu le semba lor dress kawa draw na sudu tukwa ina yanchi tumbu changbu che tuyagi romitsi dina samdan diya chaginji ligdo asaro.
So from my point of view, one advantage that I have is really to, whenever I have the opportunity to give a Dharma talk, and I try to do so with pure motivation. And whenever I kind of give a Dharma talk with pure motivation, it really helps me not only to deepen my own understanding of the Dharma, but also to really reinforce my practices as well. So therefore, by kind of reinforcing my practices, it also kind of helped me to achieve more happiness of mind, and so that with this I could also live in harmony with the surrounding as well. So these are the benefits I have for studying and practicing the Dharma.
Geshela, if I've used harsh words with my pet or my parents and immediately I feel regret or sorrow or guilt, how can I purify instantaneously without doing the Vajrasattva if I have no time?
With Vajrasattva?
Yes. If I have no time to do the Vajrasattva recitation,
Oh, yeah.
and I have perhaps used harsh words with my parents or family, friends, or with my little pets. I have 2 little dogs and a cat. Sometimes they can become a little bit much. And I feel guilty this morning for yelling at my little dog. So I would like to know how I can not feel guilty. I feel very sad for him. He was very sorry for waking me up this morning at 4 o'clock. So I feel terrible. He was very, very sorry, but I yelled at him and I feel guilty for this. So how can I, sometimes I speak harshly to my parents, not on purpose and not all the time, but mostly to my pets sometimes. So how can I stop feeling sad for them and guilty? Thank you.
Tiwati dirishakila moran samsam susugi pamare susugi pinya topo nangmi tindila samsam anzu siksupu tindila lapshodwa samsam samsam lamatin samsam tindi lapshoya tindi yungdwa morando ina samsam tindila moranda kitashime yudila samsam siksupu ta ki ngar shukchimpu tuni laya tindi short tudos tindi short savijil ta siksupu shila savijil lamsam mora semla ta chik madhya rota njoba rota tindi yungdusra tichidu ta tindi siksupu short sadu ta pako dikpa shaya ta tindi tundala chik doji sambegi gomde tindi chiyagi tusu mebe kapsu jobun jobo tati injwe sharaw chiyagi tawlam kariyores.
Tawlam kariyores.
Lao injwe shaa chiyag yora.
You have answer. Gain nga shu sig de da. 배하고 넣었으라. 저한테 샷사오를 넣었으라. 샷사오스다. 니가 인지 좋아져. 그 디선도 좋아셔. 벽에 캔자 시거를 샷사오스나 헛미트.
Alea.
내 고야치에 넣어서. 드실라다.
So your question is really kind of adorable in the sense that Tibetan term for shatsao, the Tibetan term shatsao, if you translate literally, it just means hot meat. So it doesn't make any sense.
남기 ngadi nanchu tol samtang de wara dara namasanji wi chu sengi di ta khadin samtang go gore ta samtang ma tu wa no so meze de chola so ro jire do sanga ro jimba na dangi nanchu tol samlo sta ma tu na ani ngi meze de chola so ro ji cha ro gore s kansa ngi meze kanza lo ani nanchu jan ke wara asra ngi penjo duru che de tuzu tang yo mare nami soya che de tuzu tang yo mare 가인 땅에 말다. 당 이 미치기 투즈디 난축 치 땅샤기로 최고라서. 딘자 당이 난축 돌아 야부지 상담하도 와나. 이 미치 돌아도 치리스. 딘자 다 오늘 미상당에 이제 수수수 미치 돌아 땅 말아서. 디지 당이 난축 돌아 상까지 도도시. 라. 땅거레스.
So as far as my own personal life is concerned, I have dedicated my entire life studying the Buddhist teachings and then try to put them into practice. So therefore, given the fact that I have dedicated most of my time studying and practices of Buddha Dharma rather than acquiring wealth, or rather than kind of look after family and other mundane things. So instead of dedicating my life on this mundane pursuit, I have really dedicated my entire life studying and practicing the Buddha Dharma. So since I have already dedicated most of my time on studying and practicing Buddha Dharma, now if I could not really kind of reinforce and dedicate more on the practice of Buddha Dharma, I kind of feel that my life is going to waste. So therefore, since I have dedicated most of my time, and nobody would like to waste, or nobody would like to kind of ruin one's own life. So therefore, for the benefits of my own life, I would always try to kind of contemplate and try to put them into practice to the best of my ability.
디지디기 더 난추 더 고마디 넘버 산지 위추 세디 뉴무 세비 세바텔야 뉴무 세바텔야 넘버 산지 위추 고마디 뉴무 세바텔야 고고거리스 다디 뉴무 세고야 준zen 카르리스 라운디 뉴무기 동아 탐진 랭기여바 동하디 nganzo sochak suna jiwa ina ya dungar gogu meba dewa gogu yobati nguyu chaga wanza dendri jiki tawni ani nyumu sego ya nyumu sebi seba yoba ani nyumu sebi ki seba piki tendu dewa yobati ta rigba mambu jiki tawni rigbe lamni ani drusha ki dendri jiki chaga dawasara ta di cheo digi ta nganzo dong rozi karayasana matse nanola ya jiki 참아리 와카리 용와디 뉴몽 또기 뉴몽비 왕게 용거 여바디 다 난추려야 되는부 잔 난추 네바니 인신바나 아니 참아리 와 탐지 싸와디 뉴몰라 투 여바디 아니 돔잡 투고레스 돔잡 투고레스라
So here, when we talk about Buddha Dharma, the essence of Buddha Dharma is really, Dharma really means the attainment of complete eradication of afflictive emotions, and and the reason for trying to achieve the complete elimination of afflictive emotions is based on the fact that we all want happiness and we all do not want suffering. Since we do not want suffering, therefore it is really crucial to actualize the state of complete eradication of afflictive emotions, because all the problems that we see on the daily basis are really caused by afflictive emotions. So therefore, try to kind of uproot afflictive emotions is really important. And by looking at the entire Buddhist teaching, what we can summarize um, is that in life, all the problems that we encounter in our life are caused by afflictive emotions, and then there is a possibility of eliminating the afflictive emotions. And since afflictive emotions are the root cause of the problem, it is crucial to uproot the very cause of the problems that we do not want.
Terda tenzada nyumu la ya nebigi. Nyumu la nebigi. Chawa chewa yanandra. Nyumu la nebi samla tangwa yanandra. Nyumu la nebi samla shemba tangma tuwa na ya. Nyumu tu tukjare sambigi lojiki tuwa yanas. De nama sanji bigi chwe lan tukudos. Chwe chagados, ra.
So therefore, even if we have a thought that afflictive emotions are destructive, and even if we engage in any action that will contribute for the elimination of afflictive emotions, all of these are could be considered as Dharma practice.
Tabi kērāng pāmalaya kōndrasa, pāmalaya tsik tukjalaya, kērāng kilaya tsik tukjalaya, tī kari topki lewa res. Kērāng gyūji nyumungu topki lewa res. Tēnza, tī tsawat nyumungu imba tōngchin, tā nyumungu sika tukjala shūra sambik, samloji tāng tuwai na, dikba shāya dik dikdwa res. Chö chiya dia dik dikdwa res. And tela tembi maung bala ya, and chik nyumu di kyo imba tōna, nyumu dili kyo tebi lo chiga bana, maung bala nyumu kiya di nyong res. And nyumu gu tobi kya tsik dukja shoya dia nyong res. Te di kiche shu insa res, ro. Sabi ki kya gyoba kiya korang, ge dikba shaga tab res, dikba shaga res, dikba nugo res, dikba nyong res. Gyoba kiya korang ki. Ngi phamala tsik dukja rao, digma sambi semdi ni gyoba kiya wata. Ani ngi piki tachi, ani kida shimila soba, kunzi nyeji kata shimala, keshi na koma, kunzi la ngi tsik dukja la, digma sambi gyoba diya, pe yabu res. Mimamuji di gyoba chi tuko maris rao.
So when we tend to say harsh words to one's parents, or or towards your pets, we have to think why it is happening. What's the root cause of using harsh words towards your parents or towards your pets? Why would we even yell at them? And if we analyze carefully, we would see that the root cause of using harsh words is really the afflictive emotions within ourselves. They are responsible for using harsh words. So therefore, by looking at this situation, if we could cultivate a mind which thinks that afflictive emotions are destructive, that will also help. And understanding the destructive nature of afflictive emotions will not only help us to purify our negativity, but also it will help us to reinforce our Dhamma practice. So therefore, by understanding the destructive nature and the shortcomings of afflictive emotions, it will have a positive impact on us. And as far as you are concerned, when you feel regret or when you feel bad immediately after yelling at your parents or yelling at your pets, that will also help you to purify to some extent, because many people even could not feel regret for using harsh words.
다 남중이 딘디식 상당이었어. 먼저 공조여라다. 공조라야 릭니도지. 아, 자유도 공조생에는 유무쇼를 야부 말다 이네야. 코랑 난센치니 아니 약소니 소리 치에여서 삼고도스라. 먼저 공조직디เป็น나미기 나미 나로래야 공조 사이저라. 디 자자 굽주 고고디 쇼이 년가 자오로지 통문도스. 공조 세네 코랑래 비기들이야. 두자 쇼 치야기 콜롱 요 마라스. 네갑 만디비 왕기 공조 사야마도 딩기스 아니 콜롱 지키는 콜아야 마르 첸디고 삼로디 요 마라스. 이 공조디 딘디기 느지 쳔보도지 통문도스라. 그래서 난 남미 para 그냥 파마 야부 차와이나 그냥 파마를 두자 라고 말아 그냥 파마 야부지 맞지 봐이나 그냥 지고 말이지 땅이 그냥 파마 야부지 맞지 봐나 그냥 샘나라야 맞지 봐당 콘도사에 때 용식이랑 건 삼지 봐라서 그래서 나 피디 야부지 차이나 삼비 피디 야부지 차이기 제와다 야부지 차이기 되버여라 당한서 디 맞지디 아니 콘도사에 지도스 띵인 내지 전부 쉬운 통문도스 가서 간서 자살 데레 개긴도서 게토도서 쉬우 동거르서라 다자는 디 권한데 자는 캔자지 고시고 이제 된당 엄마 두자 말지 근데 이 갱기 나가 갑긴 빼 먹는 거랬어 가서 이 야부 맞지 봐 나가 갑긴는 거랬어 나 비기 로브존 야부치 이 비기 상마 야부치 봐는 개긴기 가드는 냠바트야서 빼 가고치 그랬어 당가 비기 야부 맞지디 이제 개긴 코란에 지치고 말 니 비기 직타서 타상 거 도단 두단리 로니 체단리 뒤져 딱다지 맞은 개긴 빼 콘도사 그랬어 가서 나 야부지 차나 공고라서 니디 콘도디 자유도 콘도로 저래돼 있네야 디 텔레 네기스 켄통문도스 독치자스 켄통문도스라 걔랑 킬이야 콘도스는 게 키디 야부지 대바이나 걔랑 키들 독자라고 말했어 키디 걔랑 키들 세워 열었다고 야부진 대고 디마디드 다 걔랑 콘도사 쓱독자라 저 쇼긴 년가 친구들이 개버치면 예월 로가야게 년가도 들이게 년 통문도스라 장무시바나
So here, when they talk about anger, I think we can kind of categorize anger into two different types. One type of anger that is usually directed towards your close family members or your relatives or even your pets. So this kind of anger is, I think, not very destructive. Of course, it is not good, but still it is not as destructive as other types of anger. Because when we get angry towards your family members, such kind of anger is usually not motivated by a malicious intent behind this. There is no malicious and ill intent behind this anger. And most of the kind of anger that we kind of develop towards the close ones are really come out of our caring, sometimes of course caring for others, because we expect our family members to behave good, to be good, and when they behave in a certain way that that we don't feel kind of appropriate, then we get angry. But behind that anger, there is no malicious intent. So that kind of anger may not be that much destructive. For instance, in my own case, I've spent most of my time in the monastery, and whenever I kind of, if I didn't study well, or if I don't follow the kind of monastic rules very well, then of course my teacher would often scold me and sometimes even beat. And the reason behind their kind of, scolding the student is motivated for their love and caring towards the student. They want the student to behave in an appropriate way. So therefore, even in your case, since you love your dog, since you love your pet, and sometimes when the pets don't behave in a way that the pet should behave, then we tend to get angry. But that kind of angers are very kind of temporary and short-lived and may not be very destructive.
당연히 자살라 지단코 가르쳐다 개개인 인바이나 게투라 응원이게 세워여러스 게투 응원이 게투라 아니 지 펜섬 꾸는라니 되는 거라서 게투 인바이나 개개인라 응원이 단니기 대바여러다 그지 여러스라 인바이는 다 로춘주 차원디 가리나 아니 탭도 치는 로시기로스 드론디 개개인선이 년다라고 그랬어 징알라 소와 샤르그레스 개개인기 but 마와 차대야 된대 인바이는 디기 개개인라야 개개인한 나들이 동선 삼네 개개인란 콘트롤 사야도다 싸우니니 요 말이스 산이니 지는 배 찍고 파다 분황시 지는 로그를 마도 지 컨센트를 딘게 요 말라 디 게루 디게 쩌발이네 팽거리스 롭존 체레네 팽거리스 디 타투나 미치근 돈놈라이나야 개개인기 년다 따오디 팽거리스 전부 차원디 아니 개개인기 땅한 배디 지 년다 순저 땅치니 아니 이메제디 야부스 송 삼비기 가오공에 딘들레거레스 이나 니급 그다 콘로도 사고라다 콘로 사고래 디 콘로 사고르데냐 디 년가 징그 콘로 펜도 예비 콘로서를 지레다서라
For instance, in the monasteries, the relationship between the teacher and the teacher and the disciples are really kind of unique. The disciples and the students would have immense reverence and respect towards their own teachers, and the teachers would also have kind of very pure motivation and kind of love towards the student. So sometimes even when the students behave kind of in appropriately, or when they're being very naughty, then sometimes the teacher would even kind of beat them with the rosary, using the rosary, and beat them. However, the students never feel kind of bad about get beaten, or they do not hold any kind of ill intent in their mind for that. And from the next day onwards, the relationship will be kind of continue. So the teachers also, they don't kind of usually beat the students or scold the students out of kind of, pure anger, but rather with motivation to help the students, with the motivation to kind of benefit the students. Sometimes they even need to use such kind of aggressive means to put the students in a proper way. So therefore, that kind of anger, I don't feel it's very destructive.
다 간지 다 나미 아니 소주기 다 지키다 심일라서 콘로 사이드 딩 마가니 콘로 사기요 말아서라 가시게 딘리사다 딩 셈딘 마가니 콘로 사기요 바나 다디 디버친 버레스 디 야부이 말데 년가 친 버레스 로 디기 소솔 뉴그리 파쇼말아야 뉴기에 년가 열어서라 딘디 요바나 뺏어서 치고 그랬어. 근데 야림부 되고 주나 되나 야그러서라 셈딘 마가니 콘로 사원디 아니 파쇼말아야 뉴비 샤와치야디 아니 gotsam yung krasra. Ta diri ta khondro dukshu di tichagores.
Sometimes even when we get angry towards your family or when we get angry towards your pets, we of course we get angry on that temporary kind of moment, but they are not motivated by strong dislike or strong kind of hatred or strong dislike. So therefore, they are not that much destructive. And then if we tend to get this angry with strong sense of dislike towards the other person, then that is quite dangerous. So whenever we get angry out of strong dislike or hatred towards the other person, then with that kind of strong sense of dislike and hatred, we may tend to engage in the actions of hurting the other person. So therefore, that kind of action is dangerous, and we must take precaution with regard to such that kind of anger.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've noticed in my practice, I have found a certain type of fear in relation to the afflictions. And I realize this is good because I don't want to, get angry or, attachment arise. But I feel like sometimes this fear holds me back from actually doing activities because I know there's like afflictions arise all the time. So I think if I can't do an activity without an affliction rising, I just won't do it. Is this healthy to do at the start as a beginner? Yeah.
저한테 들으시길래 다 참래 타모랑기 냠네 집에 kapsula samsam ngon samnalo tichik ngamta sore ngamta de dirishik tanda nyomon chigiri sameki ngamta rabota kondo chigiri seki ngaso ngamta chiyo yongos atende yurikab kapikabta kondo chigiri samsam damhan rabota tsang sore di chowa diyo be insuna nyomon machiya to kondo machiya samsam pingido in samsam tela tene lega kanala jugwa ina di jug mataba chindi chikka tingi ro soroch sona yongodos chizotan nyamle chingi chik ta le tambowa chik imbi chani ani chik tinte nganzu kalor semna chik tsenada ngamta ki wangi lega chimba tuya sorabota tinte di takta chi degi yorwe sendo.
Ngamra kiedi tagdach devyo marasra. Chidan ta ngamra kiedi ngegi samna ngamra kiedi kaso da chik mishibi ong sorach. Umna sherab ta ngamza sama sherab dandan dangiyo marasra. Nga sherab danga mari kerans so sherab danga ma ngamza sherab dangba ina ani nimupang tugordina nimupang mazuyadi sherab mandanga wangi sherab chondrebe wangi ani nimupang tuguyo marasra. Ngamza chikbarta ta sherab ki mandandi nilu tenla pab tugo mar nilu ngube nitso ti wangi ta ngamzo la jingnanda ngamrati shukche yungu dasra ngisam di shukche yungu dos.
So here kind of the sense of fear may not be very healthy. For instance, I feel that usually the fear and this and other kind of emotions usually arises out of not knowing or ignorance. And of course, we all are facing problem of shortage of wisdom, including myself. So if you do not have kind of enough wisdom, then we won't be able to perceive and see the reality as it is. And when there is a gap between the reality and our perception of the reality, and then there is a tendency for fear and other afflictive emotions to arise.
le thangbu kaula ani chi chidang de lobjong de da lega de wasra imen dan chidang ge zamali na lobjong che de legal zigo marda ani ganzu thangbu lobjong chego dasra lobjong cheni ina ganzu dojin da lo sumju masum sumjirin la ya lobjong khoran che ma do ani chi lega che gi samlo khoran tanyo mesra lobjong khoran chen 비 lobjong di chanzangji ku lomsenji shawer di shizong gu di tar shimbayina ani mitela lotob sorji yungudo ata yungu yorata ro mitela logo jille gore mitela dingso jille gore ta dini lega ji chewayna dini lega di tembu tsaksubu ani pen togbu chidang dini rogudo asara chidang dini rogudo asara
Yes. So, having said that, we must understand the importance of education and studies. For instance, at the outset, it is really important to educate ourselves, to study the subject that we are interested in. For instance, in my own case, I've dedicated more than 30 years in rigorous studies of Buddhist teaching. And then if you engage in the studies for extended period of time, and then we will kind of gain mastery over the subject. And when we gain mastery over the subject, we will also have confidence with regard to that discipline. And then having mastered on that particular discipline, then if we started to work, then it will also kind of become productive and beneficial.
tertanda ganzu lobjong chigore lobjong chedasra ladan nangju jangorta nangju jangot nangju janda ani taji chi diksa mare samna ngamda di chedi tela lo sheta madya chinro pigi lobjong khorang le lo shuk chembuji teda shemba ngamda jegi lodi lobjong shuk khorang tobgi tes ka to yag reoyi gires
So therefore, for the beginners, if we kind of involve ourselves, try to keep ourselves busy with the studies of the Buddhist teaching, then it will in fact help us to minimize or help us to reduce kind of certain kinds of fears.
ta pigi lobjong chen di kana kanzamgi nyamnyung shize jile ondi nguyo nezo jin tongyong kurasta kana kanzamgi sozo lobjong chibi igi topgi pe nguyo nezo jik tongyan chi yungiro wasara ta nguyo nezo dan tumbigi chawa chiyon ondi ani ji goya da, cha goya da, tsena chi goya meba di peshi gyunzen rojin tonggo wasares teni da ani ngamra di hajangi nyong roya 마동 안저 가야 마시고 가랑이 디치나 노르모에 디치나 비고 포모 삼삼기 아니 지나 용돼야지 간절 연구도 하세요.
And then with engaging in the rigorous studies, and we could gain mastery over the discipline, and with that knowledge, we will be able to perceive the reality as it is. And when we see the reality as it is, we will also act and behave in accordance with the reality. And then when we could really see the reality as it is, then there will be less fear in our mind. There will be less kind of suspicion in our mind. Otherwise, if you do not have adequate knowledge and experience, we often tend to think that we often tend to have some kind of fear and suspicion that whatever we do, we might think, oh, this might go wrong, this may go wrong. There is always some kind of fear and suspicion in our mind. So by developing knowledge, we will be able to kind of remove these kind of fears.
근데 나도 이번에야 지 펜도 여바지다 아니 야채지 여바나 아니 디톨라 아 공부잡투에 탑시치기스 딘디지기 토니 소소 드로니 아니 계지 만리바이나야 아니 겨바 카야 메 삼성르지 샘리여스로 안페는 데레 로치 데레 니 로치 추데레 탄다 몽방가 가주 데투게면 하고 데세르야 응원치 쳐조데레 펜바지 폭기한 림부 산지 때레 펜바지 자와지 등이 최고와 삼거레스로 디 관련 드로니 디 마송바이나 ngalın gibi bıçıya yomar, bıçama yomares. Nga kaddi tön rogo ngalın gibi bıçıya yomares. Ngarang sambat namda çeşiniro. Yani drubaya ne şu yapuro. Sende çima tamci, samje tamciyle pengir vasro. Di mabhen bayına ya sosu konu namba taba inza. Sosu randin giçede tsawani mayinza. Mandina tingi kan cheba di ingala getza jiyoba ngi kelengros di soro chinro sosu changbu rangya chi sosu demba cheya changbu demba cheya lobjong te chemaduna changbu demba cheya de khagbu re dosro khagbu re changbu insamna changbu chag mare demba insamna demba chag mares tenza nganzu lobjong cheya de pe ani kechembu shuji yagbu shuji re sro
And as far as I am concerned, I always try to think what kind of what will contribute to the larger society, what will benefit, and so on and so forth. So with that kind of motivation, I try to move forward. For instance, it's been more than 10 years since I came here at this center, and I'm not very sure how long I'll be here in the future. But whatever I do, I always try to do with the pure motivation of benefiting this center and make a positive contribution for the development of this center. And then with that pure motivation, if I could accomplish something, of course, that is good. And even if I could not succeed, or even if I sometimes fail, since I have the pure motivation, I don't feel any regret for doing that. So therefore, having a pure motivation plays a very important role. And first, the motivation should be pure. It should be untainted by any self-interest. So with that, if you could succeed, if you could make contributions to the larger society, that is of course good. Otherwise, sometimes we may tend to think that what we are doing is good, and what we are doing is kind of just justice, and that doesn't really sometimes necessarily align with the reality and truth. So therefore, it's really crucial to have the underlying motivation of a kind of pure motivation.
남주지 도다 계시게
아니, 파길래 right?
계시슈 야 오케이 계시슈디 다 단단 간주 디셈버 렐레 사라스라 니도 뉴스 디셈버 레서로다. 니 셈나나야 니도 뉴스 잡시든 욕부 쇼치 조교라시. 라 뒤즈 욕부 쇼치 조교라시 서로지 레송스라. 원신 난 로어를 뒤즈디 베디 색인치 야 구요마다 꼬라 러시아거라. 아니 다 니도 뉴스 상을래용 그래. 잡시 조로거래. 다 니도 뉴스 상가 나눠라야 내가 가르치기 위해 착시치 단단히 고도 하서라. 학든도 로종 증인지 말나. 아니 니도 뉴스 상가기 다와 중니기 린라야. 아니 로종 제기 착시 직진. 로종 돌아 슈기야지. 니버도 고도 하서라. 간수다 남산지위 최증인데 미질 로종 증인지. 저다 안에서인데 미질 로종 증인지기. 로죽질에 끼어라서라. 나란 로나 단다부터 로종 치 단도 이낭의 문투니. 당가 달로 간주 땡주 찬자라래. 당이 찬상 직 로트나 삼비. 말라 레와 쇼지스라. 이 테스트 로거디네야. 쇼지기디 야부지 로트고 못하다. 아니 가 최종날 대거리 이제 다시 튀겨리 아니 딘데 냠도 지 최조의 차수부 용야다 지 최조의 야게 용야 털랑이 상도 뭐 당겨스. 딘디기 이 배절로야기 뒤져대 갑가로 촐라도스 잠시야바나. 이면다 미망부질 펜토바이나. 라무소버무지 까고난 신진 야워무지 까고난 신진 산지 템발에 펜스 토바이나다 나미치기 배절로야다 뒤져 촐라도는 디기라 삼성 கொஞ்சம் 이들이 상당히 있어라. 예 삼성 아 땅에 가주 비기털 슈기야바나 아니 무슨 간다를 통과하나 간다를 삼고하나 상원디 삼삼라 델등 아랑아라 배져질 로치는 사실 구교질 되나 디깁서야 삼성아 니네 소라 얘기도스라 간지 가려놓으면 다 멍방이 가르치고 오면 돌아 차시 리고 다스라 등한 삼을 직발하셨어
Um, so right now, it is December 2024, and this year is going to end very soon. And I felt like this year really passed very fast. And the next year will arrive very soon. Soon we will start, we'll go into the 2025. And in that new year, we often kind of make plans for the new year. And if you consider yourself as a practicing Buddhist, and if you are a monastic member, monk or nun, then our life should be dedicated for kind of dedicated in learning. So therefore, it's really crucial to make plans to learn new things in the new year. And I also personally try to do that. For instance, now in the center, we have the entire collection of Kangyur Tengyur, which is the collection of the Buddha's words and the commentarial literature by Indian scholars. So both the corpus is now available in the center, and I wanted to really read and go through the entire canon whenever I get the time. And then usually, apart from dedicating time reading, I would always think a lot about how to improve this center. How can we kind of continue and kind of flourish this center as per the wishes of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and his Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And then I always kind of dedicate to think a lot about them. And then, of course, sometimes thinking on this, will impact my time for reading. However, if I could kind of contribute for the center, of course it's fine. And then sometimes when I feel like I'm not kind of able to contribute much, or my contribution is not appreciated, then I tend to sometimes feel that maybe it's better to seek solitude in a remote place and dedicate my entire time in reading and studies. Yes.
Thank you, Geshela. My question is about refuge. I know I saw in the program in January at the end of the Lamrim retreat, there is a refuge ceremony. And I have been wondering about refuge for a while and what is necessary before taking refuge. How would you prepare for that?
Did you say taking refuge for a while?
I have seen that there is a program as part of Lamrim retreat. There is a ceremony to take refuge. I have not yet myself, but I'm wondering about the process, how it works, how one would prepare for it.
Yes. Okay. Tiwa tirishat korangi tanda lamrim ki retreat ki nanglo la tawi kapsula ta kyamro tomba le pichimena kyamro ki kor ta kyamro ki tomba le ti lishi sewra da digitos tanda ta kona le me te maungpa kyamro ki tomba le ki ta kora samlo tangis chisa di ki tendo ngondro ki ta thati kandito chipures.
The thati actually ngegi kyamdu domba kharchin lengore se thiwaji yona peshi yabu yosares I kharchin kyamdu domba lengore se thiwajora thiwadi lenla ya kyamdu domba lembi ngula ya khargogi yomedi ani lendi nala peshi yongo gores ra.
Yes. So I think the best preparation for taking refuge is really to ask oneself why I am taking this refuge, why I'm going for refuge, why I'm taking refuge, and why it is important. And when you ask yourself this question, and within the answer that comes to your mind, it will kind of clear many things.
Kazna kyamdu domba lembi ngela ya kyamdu domba sedi sanki chu gendun sumla ya tachigdu ani ngeg ani yichillu de chigin se damjay derwasra ngi sanki chomden dila ya tachigdu kerang ngala ya kyabtomba bo kerang kona inset yichi che ti ani kyab ngu pigi chödi ngone nga dungale ngone kyamngendi ani chödi kona insegi semdini yichichiya ani chödi dibi tap ani papi gendi konjo kona tingresaj kya kona le tingise tindigi ani semdini ani yichi chebadi tamjawadi ani kyamdu domba lembi tenres kyamdu domba tindijil shagores ra.
So here, when we talk about taking refuge, it is crucial to remember that when we go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we kind of place kind of confidence on the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. We kind of entrust our spiritual well-being to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and we entrust our spiritual being for the Buddha, who is the teacher of the refuge, and then we also entrust our spiritual well-being to Dharma for being the actual refuge. And then we also entrust our spiritual well-being to the Sangha is a spiritual kind of companion on the path. So therefore, with that, by entrusting our spiritual well-being on the three jewels, we kind of have confidence over the three jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that they'll lead or rather, they will guide our spiritual well-being.
Tadini Kariorsidi, the Kandaji Inguris Laundi, Manzu Dungardi, Tanjushu de Adada, Dungardi, Dugio Marasra. The Dungar Zava Tartuba di Kani Ungume, Dungar Yakesa da Masuna, Sajid Kari Medi, Tinganzu Shimju Chichogras, Tishimju Tarchibachi, Tizawa di Numu imbadi, Ratrayores. Kandasiki Junsing ton Samdamaina, Dungar Gitsawa Numu imbadi, Ratrayores. Things that Dungar Tsawan in Mayo Yachibala, Dungar Gitsawa Numu Pangoyati. Numu Pangoya, Numu Sebi Seba di Susu Togoyadi, and Rigby Lamni, Ratrayaj, Sanji Shon the Sonyores. That D Ichit, touch you the Ichi Giovanna, and it chill a jabs to you, Camry, Domba Toyadi, the Lela Pechagres, Tembu Pechagres.
And when we kind of entrust our spiritual well-being to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, of course, we do so in order to kind of get rid of suffering. We have discussed earlier that we do not want suffering. And if we do not want suffering, we also need to think about how can we remove and eradicate suffering. And by analyzing this, we can conclude that the root cause of all the problems, all the suffering, really lies in the afflictive emotions. So therefore, we must eradicate afflictive emotions. And then with that, if we have a strong conviction, a strong knowledge, or rather understanding that the Dharma has the potential to eliminate afflictive emotions from our mind, if you have a strong conviction towards the Dharma on its ability to eradicate the afflictive emotions in our mind, then we are ready to take refuge in Dharma.
The Numusepi Tapti, your message. The Toilet, the Numusepi Sabati Kitchen winner, Numusepi Tap your message. It is Tap your and tap the suit and to grace. Numusepi Tap Manor Shinji Malova the suit and to grace. The Tivadirasra. This Sanji Quanares. Zambalin the Namale, Sanji Jomden the Quanares. Dear Nazuta. 대선의 딜리전 레라고는다. 자기 들으면서 잠블링 나올라야 내수 가르쳐면 상물로 자도니 세두고라. 로동자 망봉인기 아니 내수 가르쳐면 수시에면 수대면 상물로 먼저 단다 되게 로레기는 배시 하고 두고 알았어. 딘자 뉴무세 바이어생이 디다 뉴무세비기 탑등인디 산지점된디 관할이스. 뉴무세비 탑 신주말로 땡이 산지점된디 관할이스. 딘자 뉴무세비 탑 땡이 그 템바텔이야 겹쳐서 템바테 산지 관할 차대요 알았어. 하고바이나 딘자 산지 관할 이시치도야디 아니 산지를 겹쳐도 겹쳐도 용투고도 왔어. 두고 알았어.
So if a complete eradication of afflictive emotions is important, the next question is, what are the means to eradicate that? How can we eliminate afflictive emotions? And if there is a means, if there's a method to eliminate afflictive emotions, who can show us the path of eliminating afflictive emotions. And then the answer is, of course, only the Buddha can show us the path to eradicate afflictive emotions in its entirety. So now, since we are living in a kind of age of information, we can access to many different information with just a click of finger button. So therefore, we can also read that Buddha is the only teacher who show us the unmistaken path of the complete means of complete eradication of afflictive emotions.
다더니 탑디 신주말로 댄샤바디 아니 딘디 레스를 라네 ngo드르진네 캐나라 로봇 제통해 줘라 다디 다딥 아니 겐디 군조도 차고레스 파비 겐디 군조기 파비 겐디 속에 산기기 탑댄샤비 람라바스마야 랍신 람라바스마야 랍니 람디 톨라야 베디 타치든 종인디 파비 겐디 차고라스라 다 콘솔라 냠뇨요레 콘솔라 융아요레 콘주 싱고레 아니 콘솔라야 아니 람드 드비기 촉 댄친 콘솔라야 아니 르켄 드로바이나 캐나라 람 신지 말라바디 로바치토 그레스 딘서 딘지지기 토니 아니 산지치 겐드스물야 아니 캡스치긴세 이치치긴세 로디 두스니 용고 그레스
So with the realization that Buddha has kind of showed us the path for complete elimination of afflictive emotions, and then if we have a strong realization, then we are ready to take refuge in Buddha. And similarly, Buddha has showed us the path of complete elimination of afflictive emotions. Now the Sangha or the spiritual community is the companion in the companion on the path of eliminating the afflictive emotions, and the Sangha community has the experience of practicing the Dharma. So therefore, if you have a strong realization that Sangha could assist us in our path towards achieving the complete elimination of afflictive emotions, then we are really ready to take refuge in three jewels.
다디 용야라 통마딜야 페나 다 뎀바시기 콜레야 롭종테스 쳇투바나 라 믹스 카네 아니 덴지기다 뎀비기 산지기 송요리 야가르키비 송요리 아니 페키비 송요리 다 덴상 페나다 지 노쇼바 로십중갑주린라야 난주 장댕이 딘디기야 아니 덴지 콜레야 티자비 덴데 탭딘디 유지로 와서라 드슬 때바나 아니 덴시기 남자디 야 고아지 차바이나 아니 캠로디다 네버드 아니 용고야 소슬라 고야지 통그레스 다 딘디지 토니 아니 캠르디 도마질 렌토반 펜도슈여서레스
So on top of that, if we could also kind of study a little bit about the concept of Four Noble Truth, this will also further reinforce our practice of going for refuge. There are many teachings about Four Noble Truth in the sutras and the commentary literature by Indian scholars and Tibetan scholars as well. And now similar, you can also find materials written about the Four Noble Truth by Western scholars as well. So by with the help of this literature and resources, if we could also deepen our understanding of Four Noble Truth, then it will kind of further reinforce our conviction to going for refuge. 아니, 차순경.
잘 타마디 지금 타마디마도 참고스.
아니, 타마딩에 연결나가.
예.
So if you have a kind of strong kind of realization of the concept of Four Noble Truth, then it will further reinforce our refuge practice.
Good. You have more questions?
Morning, Geshela. How are you? I wanted to talk, or I wanted you to give a little bit of a talk about the 8 stages of the dissolution of death, but I don't think we'd have time to do that.
Okay. Tanda ganzu chiwi kapsula chiwi rimba gear jiyo tanda timrim sewre di quality sung rochina samgito de taine ganzu tuzu dangin chiyo samarisla.
Anzu tizu sogos.
Naso.
So, Renganzu tizu suni jeme sabasantala anti-quality shen digras.
Naso. So I think next Friday we could discuss about the dissolution process in detail. If that's fine.
Good. Yeah. Even degrees enough today. On the shower. Jaranzu dadi denshi tolerate. This lotion chitin, the one yabuyorestera. One sanji chu and Nanga tardiwa the denshi ton shigdazra. Legunde koina, denshi ton legri, Jevang Hashi Nusen, the denshi ton legri, chu tangupi, chig any golden to tantia, denshi ton legris, Namlavasla Yamle chetan, the denshi ton, denshi testi. Lobjon chetona peo. Sanji chu Thomas on the denshi sondas. Nenga shujreda tadi. Ani denshi tola jema mambala chotin shivana. Then the pento yoris. This is the Shingrosra.
And I strongly recommend and urge everyone to study and read more about Four Noble Truth, because this concept is really crucial and important. All the entire Buddhist practice is really encapsulated in the concept of Four Noble Truth, whether it's been the concept of law of causality, law of karma, concept of past and future life, the concept of actualizing cessation, and so on and so forth. All these important topics are really encapsulated in the Four Noble Truth. So therefore, if you could study more, read more about the Four Noble Truth, and if you have any kind of more questions and doubts, we can definitely attend those questions in the coming sessions.
Lamas over muchigi denshi tola. Motorchi tepchonchi yosare. Pe kodewu yabudu segda. Tinganzo penzole peji yoris.
So there's a booklet by Lama Sopa Rinpoche about the Four Noble Truth, which is very accessible and engaging. I think the book is available in the library.
Yeah. Anchar di tola lobjon tesje and di nang ta tokchu and tinganzo tokchu chewan. Tin the pe siu chagres.
So before coming to the class, if you read and studies, and then if you come to the class and the session with the doubts, then it will be it will become very clear.
Zapasanda za nimadi nganzo tizu yakshire dasra. Kari tola, keranzula kari govati tola, keje shechondas. Then the Lamaram Zenda Dono Kon Zendeg Pigi, Joshua, Tishizonchen and Drogora.
So I think the Friday and Sunday sessions are really, kind of productive sessions, because we can discuss any topic that you have. We can attend any doubts that you have. Otherwise, during the learning sessions, we have to really focus on the particular topic.
Thank you. 도전아.
Yes.
So then on page 12 of the text or on the screen in front there for the final Lamrim prayer. From my two types of merits, vast space that I've amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manju Shri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings. May I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path as I have discerned them, may I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be grounded bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment, completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons, may human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may it always be assisted by the mighty ones. May oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Janchu Sencho Rinpoche, Mage Panam Kegu Kapa Nyampa Me Payong, Gone Gondu Pelwa Sho.